Good afternoon and welcome to Spiritual Psychics TV. My name's Veronica Jenkins. I'm hosting my first show today, which is My Spiritual Kind of People. And I've got a few hellos to say to start with. And while those are coming on, I'll just tell you about my show. This show will be on every other Sunday. And each week that we're on, I aim to bring you some of the more interesting people in our world of spiritualism, having a chat to them, finding a bit more about them, finding about their journey through spiritualism, and hopefully learning a bit about ourselves through that process too. To start our show, we've got Gwen Acorah for this week, and we'll meet Gwen in a few minutes. But Richard, can we say some hellos first? Okay, just coming up. Okay. Hi, Mary Dixie. Good afternoon. How are you? Nice to have you on our very first show. Glenys Poppy Fields Huskins. Good afternoon. Nice to see you. Julie Caswell, one of our regulars. Good afternoon. And Linda Bradshaw. Lovely to have you on with us. And Alison, our good friend Alison Barton, is here this afternoon. Alison's one of our VIPs. If you're interested in joining our VIPs, there is a link on the Spiritual Psychics TV website or Facebook. And Terry Wall, Terry does most of the admin for Spiritual Psychics TV, so welcome on. Wendy Lindsay, she's one of our regular guests, and Pamela Rogers, one of our developing mediums. Good to have you on this afternoon. Emma Adams, what a lovely wedding photograph you've got there. And hello from you from Cornwall. Lulu, hi, how are you? And Gwen, if I could, Stace Shaw, it wouldn't be the same without Stace. If I can now introduce Gwen. Gwen Acorah is my guest this afternoon, and welcome to my very first show. I hope you have a great afternoon with us.
And thank you for having me on. It's an honour. Your first show. Wow.
If you'd like to join me in saying a few hellos. We've got Kirsty Brogan. Kirsty's again.
Hello, Kirsty. Yeah. Hello, Kirsty, and hello to everybody that's joining. Hello, Sarah. Lovely to see you. And Holly Johnson. I know somebody called Holly Johnson. Everybody knows Holly Johnson. Thank you goes to Hollywood.
Oh, right. I'll pick you up.
He is a friend of mine. Back in the way back then.
Hi, Joe Stainsbury from Hartlepool.
Yes, hi, Joe.
And Lorraine Richardson.
Yes.
Sorry.
Hello, Lorraine. Hello.
And Michelle Blackman. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Right. If I can start our chat, Gwen, I'm sure we'll have people coming in, and if anybody would like to ask questions through the show as well, that would be great. But first of all, Gwen, obviously we know you from Derek, who unfortunately passed last January.
He did.
Very suddenly, and a massive loss for all of us in the spiritual world. You were married for quite some time, 1995, I believe you.
Yes, we were married for. He just missed our silver wedding anniversary. It would have been married 25 years, but we had been together for a long time before we actually got around to getting married. We've known each other since the mid-80s.
So you were involved very much with the spiritualism already at that time?
I wasn't involved until I met Derek, and then I became involved in his work. I mean, I have to be perfectly honest and say that I knew nothing about the workings of spiritualism and what I'd only heard about fortune tellers prior to that. But Derek soon educated me. He hated that expression, fortune tellers. He
I'm not
really did.
surprised. I'm not surprised. In your journey through spiritualism, then, was Derek actually able to give you the proof that so many of us, when we first come into spiritualism, really look for? Um, did he bring through somebody that was close to you? What was that like?
Um, not immediately. He didn't immediately connect with people, and I think really that would have been the wrong way to approach it with me. It was more an interest in the subject. Um, Derek at that time was going to all sorts of circles at spiritualist churches. He was in rescue circles and all this sort of thing. So I was more interested in the nuts and bolts of what happened than actually having a connection with anybody myself, because at that time, although I'd lost grandparents, it had been a long time ago. I still had my parents and this sort of thing. So there was nobody that I really wanted to hear from, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
I always believed in an afterlife. Before I ever met Derek, I always thought that there was some sort of blueprint to life that we all had, and no matter what we do during that lifetime, we will end up as we're supposed to end up. Yet there are many pathways of getting there, many ways of getting there. I don't know whether I'm being particularly clear on that, but that it was my perception before I met Derek, before I knew anything about spiritualism. It was when my father passed away that I can remember, not straight away, because I don't think I would have appreciated it at all. And Derek didn't believe in trying to connect with anybody who had immediately passed. In fact, he wouldn't do readings for people if they were recently bereaved. It was his idea, well, not idea, but what he felt was that you had to allow at least 6 months to come to terms with the grieving process. Once upon a time, I would have said, get over the grieving process, but now, through personal experience, I know you never get over it. You come to terms with it. And I think that that was what he understood. I can understand the desperation of wanting to connect with somebody that immediately you've lost them, because you want life to continue on as normal, but it can't be,
Right.
because the person is no longer physically there, and it's not just the personality that you crave; it is the physical presence that you crave too.
Yes, very much. Now, I know Derek's early life. He saw his granddad when he was 6.
Yes.
Did he talk much about his early life and his first dealings with spirit?
Yes, he did, and I've listened to so many interviews that he had, where people have said, "Well, sort of when I was 6," and this. Derek would always tell everybody that although his grandmother was a medium, and yes, he did witness his first sighting of spirit when he was a little boy. He wasn't very interested. He was more interested in football. That was Derek's passion in life at that time, and all through his teens. And he did achieve becoming a professional footballer for part of his life. And I think that he was Spirit were giving him that because they knew that it wouldn't be too long before he was going to give the rest of his life to working for Spirit, which he did.
And how did that transition work? Because he had to come out of football from injury, didn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So,
I mean, I wasn't with him at the time
mm,
because Derek, we both were married to people prior to meeting one another. I don't think he found it easy because it was a radical lifestyle change. But from what he tells me, or from what he told me, he always had received messages from Spirit from different people, and although he didn't follow it as a career or a working pathway, he didn't ignore Spirit completely. Um, and of course, when he was working in Australia playing football, when he came back to England, he started going to the spiritualist churches in England once again. So
and that's where he
and
started.
yeah, because he was working as a sports coach when I first met him. But all his spare time was going to circles development, advanced development, and rescue circles, all sorts of different circles he used to go to.
How did that transition from just, I'm saying just, but being a platform medium and working in the spiritualist church to being this international star, how did that occur for him?
It was fate, and that's all I can say. He never ever, nor did anybody else on his behalf, make any move towards trying to achieve this, because of course in the early 80s, mid 80s, spiritualism wasn't as it is today. It wasn't as accepted as it is today, for one thing, because people used to view it with a little bit of fear, I think. And they used to have these sort of ideas of dark dress and red lights in dark rooms and all this sort of thing. There was there was a fear factor attached to it. And I can always remember my mother, who it was a typical mother. And I said, "Oh, I'm going to get my card read." This was when I was in my teens, nothing to do with Derek. I'm going to get my card read. She said, "Oh, you don't touch anything like that. Don't go to anything like that." And that was a typical attitude. But yeah, it sort of Derek was exceedingly popular. He started. He used to do house visits. When I first met him, he was going to people's houses doing readings. And then I said to him, "Why are you going to people's houses? Why don't you open a premises, a shop, something like that, where people can come to you?" Because at the time he didn't have a car, you see, and I had to drive him everywhere. So it was sort of rather selfish on my part, but it worked. And he was very, very, very popular. And of course, word gets round, doesn't it? And the next minute, local radio stations were wanting him to go on the radio, and it just grew from there. One particular time, a researcher from Granada Television Studios came on the phone, and they were doing an item, National Tea Week, and of course tea leaf reading. They thought, what a good idea. And this researcher, her aunt had been to see Derek and said how marvellous he was. And she thought, oh, Derek Acorah, I'll get in touch with him, see if he'll read some tea leaves. And So she phoned him up, and he said, "Well, I don't read tea leaves." She said, "Oh, it doesn't matter. What do you do? What do you do?" He said, "Well, I'm clairvoyant. I'm clairaudient. Well, the messages must be coming from somewhere. It can't be just the tea leaves. So will you come on the program?" So he did. And he did live readings over the phone for people, and yeah, that's how it all started. He was so popular, everybody loved it. This sort of cheeky Scouse geezer.
Because he's been on an awful lot of shows, the Paul Grady and Loose Women. What was his favourite one? Which one did he enjoy doing the most?
Which one did he enjoy doing the most? Out of these sort of more celebrity type things?
Yeah.
He did like Paul O'Grady. He did get on with a fellow Scouser. Yeah, he did. He did like Paul O'Grady. Yeah. I can see Ashley Robinson saying, "Hello, ladies." Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Last saw you at Western Supermare, and thank you for looking after us both so well.
Now, as well as the highs, there's been some lows as well, because as with most famous people, and especially mediums, that there's been occasions where there's been some really malicious allegations and
absolutely, yes,
things like that. How did he actually cope with all of that? Because when you get allegations against you like that, it cuts you, it can cut you to the core.
Well, yes, and it did. It did. I shielded Derek from a lot. He didn't know a lot. He didn't see the a lot of the venom that was on social media, put it that way. But he was most upset about what had appeared in the press and this sort of thing. And I don't know which particular incident that you have in mind. Perhaps you could.
Well, just with Most Haunted, there was some really, I would say, just malicious allegations.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
And
that's all they were, allegations.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Derek was tied into a gagging order. You can't speak about the show. You can't speak about what goes on in the show, I should say. But strangely, he was the only one with the gagging order. And other people didn't have that gagging order. But I've got to say that it didn't do anybody any good, because at the end of the day, Derek came out looking better.
Yeah.
And look what happens, Derek had some good times on Most Haunted. I've got to say that. I've got to be honest. And we were both privileged in going around some of some marvelous locations, and abroad as well. But it became very tough for Derek, and at one point he almost had a nervous breakdown over it, the way that he was being treated. And he decided that enough was enough. We both made the decision that he would say, "I don't want to do anymore," which is what happened. He went to Manchester. He met with Antics Productions, and he met with Living TV, and he said, "That's it, I'm not doing any more." And that was at the end of Series 5, because he was in such a bad place mentally at this point.
And how did he get back from that? What gave him the strength to get back from that?
Leaving Most Haunted. Because he agreed, unfortunately, to do another series, because he was very close to Richard Wolff, who was the commissioning commissioner. at Living TV, and Richard said, if you just do this last series, give us time to create a new program for you, which they did. Derek Acorah's Ghost Towns. So Derek did, and unfortunately, it gave some people the opportunity to really try and ruin him, but they didn't succeed.
They didn't. And all strength to yourself and Derek, because I'm sure you must have provided him with an absolute ton of support at that time. And
you have to.
Yeah. And I guess he felt Spirit supported him through that time too.
Oh yes, absolutely. If it hadn't have been for his faith and belief, he wouldn't have got through it.
Yeah. No. And very much ties to what you were saying about your belief of how life works, and that we're all on a journey, and it took him a different route than perhaps he was initially planning, but a route that was valuable to him, valuable to you both together, and as you say, look where he got to, and that's wonderful. He was on Celebrity Big Brother as well, 4th place.
He was.
It must have been odd being without him for that long period.
It was, yes, it was, because it was a month, and there truly is no communication whatsoever. You really don't. You're not allowed to get in contact. It is, as they say, no contact whatsoever. He actually enjoyed it, you know. Yeah. He did.
Did you enjoy the bit of peace and quiet?
Oh no, I didn't enjoy watching it. It's one of those things that you're compelled to watch, but you don't really want to. You know? And the time that he appeared in those speedos, I thought, oh my God, because they were supposed to be only for in the shower purposes. Because Derek was a very modest man, and he didn't like to sort of flash the skin or anything like that, and he didn't like the idea of anybody seeing him in the knack. So he rooted out these speedos that he'd had for years, but then he appeared on TV. The good thing is, though, they went for charity. We raised £400 for charity by selling them. So
good ending to the story then. Yes. We've got a question from Ashley Robinson. What's the one thing you now know that you wish you'd known at the start of your journey?
It mightn't be a very positive thing, but I wish I'd known about the amount of negativity that can be in this ism, as Derek used to call it, which is a sad statement, really. But I wish I'd been warned because I thought that it was all lovely and roses, and I didn't the competition and the lack of spirituality. I suppose that I can. That's something that I think I wish I'd known about, because I would have been able to handle it better.
Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, mediums are people, and which
absolutely,
in every walk of life,
absolutely, yes.
You get that they get the jealousies, the malicious rumours, all of those kind of things. It's just part of being a human being at the end of the day, I guess.
Yes, and yes, mediums are very human beings.
Yes.
I was married to one, I know.
And at the end of the day, we're all on a spiritual journey, and finding that out and being able to overcome those kind of human frailties is a big part of that, I guess.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Since Derek's passing, you've obviously taken his legacy and been working with that in terms of on Facebook. You've got your Facebook page, your Friends of Derek Acorah, and you have regular people coming onto there. how's that evolved, and where do you see that going in the future?
Well, I don't sort of have any huge plans, but I just enjoy giving people a decent sized platform to work, in the hope that they'll get more attention, and people will enjoy the work and go to their own pages and help them grow.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate aim, to try and maybe be a small step in somebody else's progress. That's it.
And the people that come on there, are those the ones that Derek was supporting in development before his passing, or?
Derek didn't mentor anybody at all. He would give words of advice if asked, and he would certainly give support if somebody came up to him after a show and asked him questions. He'd certainly answer them as well as he could, but he really didn't have time to mentor anybody as such. But of course he met an awful lot of people, and they used to come not to one show, but they'd come every time he was in the area. They'd come to the show and tell him about their progress, and so it seemed a natural thing for maybe them to go onto Derek's page, to continue his legacy.
Yeah. And just with fear of inundating you with mediums requests to come on the page, how would somebody that would be interested on supporting your page come on, or is that just by invitation only? Sharon said, Richard.
If they get in touch with me, that is the way that it happens. And I have a look at their own page and see. You see, I get an awful lot of people that sort of fancy being on the page, but they've got no experience. I like it if somebody sort of knows how to go live, and they so, because I'm not technical at all, so it's no good coming to me saying how do I do this or how do I do that, because I don't know. I'll make it possible for you to go onto the page, but from then on it's up to you.
Yeah. And so, mediumship doing lives is different from Zoom and obviously in person, because you've got that delay, and not everybody can work with that. So I can understand that.
Derek had difficulty. I mean, he has appeared in front of millions on theatre stages, and he found it very difficult because, again, he's not technical. He wasn't technical either. And we'd be running around like scalded cats trying, if something went wrong. It was awful. I think there was one memorable time when we didn't know we were live, and we were having a heated discussion over something. Over nothing too bad.
We've got another question here from Indigo Amy Packman. Please, can you quote from Derek saying what he lived by?
Do your best. Don't hurt others if you can possibly help it. He was always saying to me, thoughts are living energies. What goes up must come down. And he was saying everything's karmic, whether it be good or bad.
Yeah.
You know, that was basically what he was saying.
Yeah. And I guess that helped in difficult times with him as well, knowing calm and accepting that as part of.
And it's amazing. Sometimes you have to wait a while.
Yeah.
But it does.
It does.
Yes, it happens.
Does.
Yes.
Yeah. A question from Pamela Rogers. Did Derek teach you to bring spirit through?
No. I didn't have any desire to learn. He taught me how to read the tarot. But no, I'm not mediumistic material.
Okay. And since his passing, has anybody brought Derek through to you in a way that you've really felt connected to him since his passing?
No, because I haven't sought out. No, but having said that, I haven't felt the need to, because there've been lots of occasions now when I've known that Derek's around. You can sort of, when you can feel a person there, but they're not there, but you can feel them there.
So Gwen, when you said that you don't sense spirit,
no, I mean,
you do.
I wouldn't sort of attempt to do readings or this sort of thing. Everybody's psychic, aren't they? Everybody has you can go into a room and sort of go, ooh, I don't like this, or yes, this feels okay. That's my level of, your average. You have to be a little bit more than that to sort of consider yourself a medium, I think.
But you've certainly felt Derek around you.
Oh yes, and the dogs. We have 2 dogs, and they are constantly the kitchen door where I sit and watch television. It's the seating area at the end, sofa at the end of the kitchen area, and the dogs are constantly watching somebody come in and sort of looking and wagging the tail, and then they'll go into the conservatory and look through another glass door and watch somebody in the living room, and there's nobody there. Sort of. So yeah, he's around a lot. Yeah, all the time, I'd say.
And I know dogs are a big part of your life as well. And there's a particular dog charity that you and Derek both supported. Would you like to tell us a bit about that?
Yes, it's Pathfinder Guide Dog Program, and they provide assistance dogs for blind people. And I am continue to be a patron to the charity. Derek was a patron before he unfortunately passed away, and we've both been connected to the charity for, gosh, it must be 17 or 18 years now. It's fantastic. They have no government funding whatsoever. Every penny that is raised for Pathfinder dogs goes to the dogs. Nobody takes wages, nobody takes benefits, nobody takes anything. It goes to the dogs. And there are a lot of people that help us, and I'd love to be able to get some more likes and follows on the Pathfinder Guide Dog Program Facebook page, so that we get bigger audiences. So please, everybody, like, share and follow the Pathfinder Guide Dog Program Facebook page.
Thank you. Now, Derek passed just before lockdown, the first lockdown. How do you think he would have coped, and how have you coped having to grieve through that time? That must have been really, really difficult.
I can't say that it's been easy, but I mean, I'm fortunate. I can take the dogs for a walk because I live in the countryside. I can still nip to the shops. It's there are so many people far worse off than I. They were sort of living in a flat with no access to anywhere, and it would be 1,000 times worse. But no, it hasn't been the easiest thing because, like everybody, you miss the social interaction with friends, don't you? I mean, it's lovely to be able to pick up the phone or share Skype or whatever. It's lovely to be able to do that, but there's nothing like a good old face-to-face jangle, is there?
That's
You
right.
can't over a cuppa or a glass of wine, even better. But yeah, it's I don't know how Derek would have coped because Derek loved nipping out. I'll nip out to Tesco's, or I'll nip to Dobby's, or I'll nip here, there, or everywhere. And he used to chatter to anybody who stopped him, basically, you know, sort of, it was always, "Hi, Derek." He was a nightmare to go shopping with.
I take it from that you used to get stopped quite a lot.
He did.
Would
I just carried on walking. I was social. But I'd do my shop and come back to the same spot, and he'd still be talking to people, and sort of pick him up on the way and go to the car.
Come on, you're with me.
But
yeah, a very giving man.
Oh, absolutely, yes. He loved people. He genuinely loved people.
Yeah. Kirsty's asking, it must have been hard at times. Did you ever feel like telling Derek to give it up?
Yes. In some of the bad times. I mean, there were 2 or 3 times when I thought this just isn't worth it. It just is not worth it. It's not worth the grief. You know, the only time that I can ever remember Derek saying that he wanted to give up was very, very, very early on, before he started radio or television. But I don't know why he felt he couldn't cope. Maybe spirit was putting too much onto him at that particular time. But I can remember him being absolutely in tears, actually, saying, I can't do it. I can't continue on with it. Maybe he had vision of what was to come, but felt overwhelmed by it. And I don't mean sort of vision in that you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do the other. I mean sort of some vision that he couldn't quite grasp, but he knew it was enormous, and so he did actually give up. And we thought, well, what can he do? So we decided that he was going to go into hotel management.
Okay.
And we went along and we did the course and all this sort of thing. And I gave up my holidays to go on this course with him. And I think we finished the course, and he did some relief management for about 2 or 3 weeks. And he said, "No, I can't. I don't like this. I really feel as though I need to get back to my work for Spirit." So that was the one time he gave up. But yeah. But it was funny because Derek, he did have foresight on a lot of things. But I don't think he got the full picture, because some of the momentous things that have happened, I can say after, he must have known about that. He must have known. I mean, he passed away on the 4th of January, 2020. And it was the November, December, where people were not feeling so well, and that this really nasty flu was going around. COVID hadn't been mentioned, and coronavirus hadn't been mentioned. It was just a bad flu virus. But in the September prior to this, before everybody started being ill, Derek became very concerned about viruses, and he started buying hand gels. We went to our home in Spain in September 2019. We were the only people sitting on the plane with face masks on because he insisted on we must wear face masks. And people sort of, course, face masks. You know, where do you go? What? And you looked a bit of an idiot, actually. You know, sort of plane full of people. We're sitting there with face masks on, and there were sort of a few other things: washing hands and making sure. But nobody had heard of COVID. Nobody had heard of coronavirus. Nobody had really been hit by the flu because it was just before the flu. This bad flu started. So, and I've often wondered since whether he had foresight of what was to come with this awful flu epidemic. He was sort of feeling something, but not quite sure what.
Yeah, it just had a sense of,
sort of impending doom.
Yes. Okay. For you with the future, I know you've said, you know, with the Facebook page, it's evolving. Do you have a sense of your own future and where you'd like that to go?
I don't really. No, I don't. I haven't given thought to that. Really, I suppose if I were 50, I might have done, but I'm in my early 70s and sort of, I don't know. I haven't really given thought because I can't envisage doing anything without Derek. It's going to be a huge step, and it's not one that I've considered taking yet in anything, whether it be to go on holiday or take a trip anywhere or whatever. And I suppose the situation hasn't helped, has it? The COVID situation.
No, it's kind of delayed things in many ways, hasn't it?
Yes,
it puts a hold on it.
Yeah.
In terms of sorry, I've just got a total blank there. Do forgive me. Total blank.
I'm all agog. It must have been a good question, that one.
Sorry, Richard. Sorry, everyone. Behind me. Okay, I flushed. Right. If we can go back to Derek and that was it, around his guides. Did he talk much about his guides?
Well, everybody knew about Sam.
Tell us all about Sam.
Well, Sam was Derek's main spirit guide, and I can't remember a time when he wasn't. He used to speak to Sam during programming, you know, sort of, and during Most Haunted on stage in theatres. It was always he was always talking with Sam, and didn't make any secret about it because Sam was his main spirit guide. And of course he did talk about other guides and helpers and gatekeepers that helped him through his life and development. But no, Sam was his main guide. Sam was with him all the time.
Indigo's asking, did Derek have a self-care routine to keep him grounded and well?
He slept a lot.
Okay.
he didn't do anything in particular, but what he did do was, and he was very strict about this, once he started working, he closed himself down.
Yeah.
I've heard lots and lots of mediums saying that, oh, I can't close down, or they don't want to close down, or whatever. It's not for them to close down. It's a personal thing. But with Derek, he felt that it was most important that once he'd finished working, whether it be a theatre show, whether it be a one-to-one reading, or be going live on Facebook, or any scenario where he was working, once that work was done, he closed himself down completely.
Yeah.
And that was his self-care.
Yeah. Well, did he have a routine for opening up? We've talked about closing down there. Did he have an opening up routine?
Oh yes, he'd have 5 minutes to himself, and he would get himself in the zone, or whatever you call it, for working. Yes, so yeah.
Yeah. And did he do much meditation? Because I know, especially with mediums starting their journey, as a circle leader, you're always recommending doing meditation. But is that something that he continued on through?
He did meditate from time to time. Yes, he did, but not nearly so much as years and years ago when I first met him. I think because he said that mediums never stop developing, and I agree with him. I think everybody continues to learn, regardless as to what field they're in. But yeah, I think he had to concentrate more on his development when he was sort of 40 years ago than maybe he did latterly.
Yeah. And with a lot of mediums, they get drawn into trance circles and physical circles. Did he have the time really to sit in a trance or physical circle?
He was in years ago. He did go into a physical circle, but he didn't spend. It wasn't for him.
No.
Is the only thing I can say really.
Yeah.
It wasn't for him.
People specialize, don't they?
Yes, they do.
They have different gifts. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Was there any mediums that Derek himself rated, and felt that?
Gosh, yes, he rated lots and lots of mediums. He was very generous actually in his observations with mediums. I mean, Colin was the most famous medium that he worked with. He and Colin and Derek on stage together were phenomenal. But Gordon Smith, he rated, he loved Gordon Smith, and there are lots that Billy Cook, another fabulous medium, Ashley Robinson, so he thought Ashley was really, and he was really taken with yeah. There were lots and lots of people that he rated. There were lots. He was saddened to see that sometimes people either shouldn't have been on the platform or put on the platform too early.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen somewhere that there's not the structure that perhaps they need, and they haven't gone through that proper training process and jumped in too
and
early.
he was really adamant that that people can't just learn at home looking at a screen. You just can't do that.
Yeah.
I won't say too much on that one.
Okay, we've got a question. Quickly moving on. We've got a question from Stacey Shaw. What would be Derek's advice to anyone just starting their journey now? Something he would have advised himself when he would have started out first, maybe?
Because he was so dedicated to his learning. I mean, I said before, Derek didn't have a car, and rather than miss going to one of his circles or one of the churches, he would walk. And I'm not talking 100 yards or 50 yards or a mile or something. Some of these places were 5 and 6 miles, and he would walk to get there. And that was how dedicated he was. But what was it? Advice on starting out? Believe in yourself. I think that was what I think that's what he have self-belief, because I know his was shaky sometimes. Sort of. I think every medium gets a wobble now and again, don't they? When they think, But yeah, self-belief. I think that's what he'd advise.
And I feel that that's actually a wonderful place to leave our interview today, because self-belief and just that bright light that Derek shone, and you are continuing his legacy, is wonderful.
In whatever way.
I just want to, Richard, is there any final questions from any of our viewers? Did Derek ever have readings himself? That's from Kirsty.
He didn't particularly go and seek readings, but he received messages from people, and he was always very grateful for the messages that he was given. I can remember him going for a reading once, and it was a good few years ago. So yes, he did have readings now and again.
Okay. Well, can I say a massive thank you, Gwen, for your honesty and openness and all of your knowledge about Derek and your lives together. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Just some adverts for the coming week. I know we've got Matt and Kirsty on tomorrow. Tonight we've got our VIP. Tonight we've got our VIP development night with Marcus. To join in that, you need to be on our VIPs, which is a donation of £1.50 a month or £5 a month to be an angel. Details of that are on both the website and our Facebook page, so you can find details of how to be a VIP and join our VIP development nights. And there we are. Tomorrow we've got Matt and Kirsty doing their mediumship and oracle card readings at 8 o'clock. Thank you for joining us here, and thank you again to Gwen for a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.